So this is a little review of the IV pump that will be useful to you on Thursday when we have our IV day. Here is the a front of an IV pump. This is not the one that we have in the nursing lab, but it's fine to look at. You can just see that you're going to have the rate is going to be milliliters per hour, and the volume is going to be the volume to be delivered. Sometimes VTBD, it's abbreviated, volume to be delivered. So that's all the pump knows is volume and time. It only knows volume and time. It doesn't know how many grams you put in the volume of whatever medication. It doesn't know how many milligrams. It doesn't know how many units or anything like that. All it knows is volume and time. So when you want to deliver medication, you need to add the medication to a volume of fluid, and then you can administer the medication to the patient. So here is a a main IV. It's 1,000 milliliters. You have an IV port there. It's an injection port. You can take a needle and you can put medication into the main IV should you want to do that. You also have the drip chamber and the roller clamp that you should be familiar with because you had that when you delivered enteral feedings to patients in fundamentals. And again, as I said, for this, the volume is the amount that's left in the bag, and the rate is how fast you want it to go. So say, for example, we wanted to deliver a liter of fluid in 12 hours. So that's 1,000 milliliters in 12 hours. So you would take the 1,000 milliliters, you divide it by 12, and you get 83. So that'd be 83 mils per hour. And you can put the volume to be delivered here, and the rate would be 83. Now, what would we put the volume at? If we put it at 1,000, 1,000 is going to go in, and then the pump's going to start beeping, and then it'll alarm you that you need to go to the patient and change out the bag. So say, for instance, if we put in 950, so when there's still 50 left in the bag, it'll start beeping, and then you have 50 milliliters, which is a good part of an hour, to get a new bag and put it on and hang it, and then the infusion is not interrupted. Okay, so let's look at, say for instance we had a bag of 500 milliliters and you wanted to do it in 6 hours. So we have 500 mils in 6 hours. Now that 500 mils could be a 500 milliliter bag, or it could be just what's left in the 1,000 milliliter bag. Say, for example, you needed to change things up at some point during the day and the bag was half empty. So now you have 500 milliliters in the bag. So again, our answer generally tends to be the same, 83 milliliters per hour. And we would put 83 in here. And if we put 500, again, we're going to run into the problem of the whole amount has gone in, and then the machine starts beeping at you, and then you have to really scramble to get the next bag hung. So say, for example, we put 450. Then you have almost an hour before the bag goes dry. Now, just to show you, and you'll see when you play with the one that's in the nursing lab, these on this particular model we have these little things that toggle plus or minus signs. So that's how you're going to put your rates in, these numbers. Okay? So now we have a little bit more complicated situation. We have what they call IV piggyback, and then you have your main IV. So the IV piggyback will be attached in before the pump. So it's attached before it goes into the pump, and we're going to again put in the rate and the volume to be delivered. Say for example we have the main fluid going in, we have 1,000 milliliters, but we want to piggyback 100 mils over 30 minutes. Now we have 100 mils and 30 minutes is a half an hour, right? So 0.5 hours, 0.5 hours. You always have to do it in hours. So what we have for this situation is the rate is going to actually be 200 mils per hour, and the volume is going to be 100 mils. Okay? Now, the thing is that the pump doesn't really know what you're doing up here. The pump doesn't know what is the main IV fluid, what is the piggybacked. All it knows is you're going to put in a certain amount in a certain amount of time. 100 mils in at the rate of 200 an hour, which would make it 30 minutes. So after this 100 mils goes in, then the pump goes back to your main IV solution, and that is why, as you can see here, you put the IV piggyback higher than the main IV solution, because just with physics, it's going to go in first. So it goes in first, and after this bag is all empty, then this one starts to infuse. But we don't want to infuse that at 200 mils an hour. We want it to go back to the original rate of, let's say, 40 or 80, 83. So like 83. So that's where you have a setting on here that you have the piggyback rate, and you also have the main IV fluid rate. So after it finishes putting in what's the piggybacked one, it goes back to the main IV rate. Now, if you put it so that this bag is higher than this bag, then the medication's kind of going to be mixed in. In fact, this one might actually backflow into your smaller bag, and you really will have messed up your concentrations of medication in fluid, so that would not be a good situation. So let's take a situation where we have 800 milliliters left in our 1,000 milliliter bag, and we want to put the piggyback 100 mils over 20 minutes. So that would be 100 mils over 20 minutes is 1/3 of an hour. So it's 0.33. That's 1/3 of an hour. So the rate then would be 300, more or less, and the volume again to be delivered is 100. So we would have 100 milliliters, and it's going to go in at the rate of 300 milliliters in an hour, and after that 100 milliliters is infused, it's going to go back to the main IV fluid, which was your 83 IV fluid rate. So just to give you a little bit of advanced warning, right here, the facility that you are working in may choose to program in some specific medications, and if they do, then those would be there, and you just tap on the particular medication and you're good to go. So I hope that helps you, and I'll see you on Thursday.